We will be joined by Cam Higby in just a moment. But I want to get started playing this clip for you guys. Many of you may have already seen it. We did play it in a previous segment. This is Antifa attacking two journalists, Katie Davis Court and Cam Higby. And I want to show you exactly what's going down in the Pacific Northwest. Let me play that video.
Scared? Why are you scared?
Uh-oh.
I'm just walking.
Stop! Don't touch me.
You guys liked it?
Thank you. Dude, run! 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 Mace!
And there you can see,
Run!
it looks like we have in this video, I believe they say Cam Higby deploying mace in an act of self-defense as Antifa had robbed, attacked, and charged at these individuals. What we've seen in the past week or so, once again, Antifa riots and violence escalating over two big issues. Riley Gaines, who made an appearance protesting male competitors in women's sports, and anti-Israel protesters taking over buildings. And I'll say in an effort to do what, I honestly don't know. But we do have joining us right now Cam Higby, who was on the ground and actually was attacked by these Antifa individuals. So we'll be pulling him in right now. Let me make sure I get it all set up. Cam, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
How's it going? You're alive.
Pretty good.
So I just watched that video where you guys got attacked by Antifa and you deployed mace.
Yeah. So they had been following elderly couples that were leaving that Riley Gaines event pretty much from the point people started trickling out. You know, some people were leaving early, and it was like old women with canes and just like extremely old couples of people. The elderly woman with a cane specifically was alone, following them to their car, saying they, want, I don't know what I can say on here, but it's pretty bad stuff, like very graphic descriptions of how they wish they were dead or wish they got killed. And after one of them, they discovered that Katie Davis Court was a journalist, or they had a suspicion or something. They chased her, and then everything was fine again. And then the police didn't go with them for another person they followed. And at the end of that, they chased her again and got super close, and I sprayed him.
So this is obviously over the past, how many days has this been going on now with like different protests where Antifa is showing up and getting violent?
The only two that I've been to recently, I don't know if there's been any prior. I was out of town for a couple days, so I've been to two recently where they took over this building, and then this one today. But I'm sure there's been more. I mean, there's protests going on all the time here.
Yeah, absolutely. There was, I believe, there was some in Portland and now in Seattle. So you guys,
Riley was in Portland.
What was that?
Riley was in Portland when those protests were going on too.
Right. And then I think she spoke in Portland, and then she spoke in Washington, right?
Yep.
Not too far away, I suppose. So you and Katie, you embedded in Antifa. You like dressed up like them.
Yeah. We were in full black bloc, pretty much indistinguishable. It was funny, actually, at one point, like John Cho was coming up and he's like, "Look at this guy."
He didn't know it was you?
Yeah, I texted him. I was like, "Yeah, that was me."
Oh, wow. But did he put that video up and be like, it worked? How did these guys figure out that you weren't actually Antifa?
I'm not sure. They never figured me out until I sprayed them, but somehow I think they just started I think they got suspicious of Katie because she was filming, and then the big one just sprinted at her. And then they took her running from him as she's not one of us. And I talked to them afterwards. And
the Antifa people?
They were like, yeah. They were like, because I mean, we were with them the whole time, and they were like, I was like, "What happened?" And the big guy was like, "I think she's filming for the other side." And I was like, "Oh, wow, I should go talk to her." And he goes, Are you with this side? And I was like, "What, this side of the street or this side of the protest?" And he's like, "This side of the protest." And I was like, "Yeah, of course I'm with this side of the protest." So I went over and talked to Katie, and I was like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And then, yeah, she's with us, whatever. And then they chased her again, and that's when I sprayed
interesting.
them.
So do you want to break down what was going on, how this started? There was obviously the occupation of that engineering building, which caused, they're saying right now, $1 million in damages. But that's just an early estimate. So you were there, you were embedded for that. Like, how did that happen? And why didn't the police, like, how does this come to be where the police don't stop it?
Yeah, I mean, well, at first there was no protest, no police presence. So it's kind of like, I mean, in these places, like, I've done a lot of journalism in LA and now a lot in Seattle. And in these cities, the police just don't really do anything about base level property damage. They don't really care. So they show up, they take over the building, much like what happened at UCLA. And they claim that it's funded by Boeing. I think that's true to some degree. It's the interdisciplinary engineering building. So they take it over, they occupy it, and it's kind of in a U shape. So they have a bunch of people inside the building that are occupying it, and then they have even more people outside the building in the inner part of this U shape that the building forms. There's like a staircase that goes down. So they're down in there, and they're kind of doing like vigils for Hassan Nasrallah and Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists, and whatever. And then, but then there's Antifa up on the street, and they're moving bike racks and statues and all kinds of stuff from around the campus to block the streets. At one point, they had a long line of buses going both ways because it forms kind of a T shape in the road. And so they're blocking all these buses. They had some interfights about whether or not they should be blocking the working class on these buses, but ultimately it was decided that who cares? They're blocking the police. So the police formed up in an alley on the opposite side of the street where they had another barrier, which consisted of some tipped over dumpsters, some bike racks with Lime scooters and electric bikes, just thrown around. And they lit that on fire when the police showed up in the alley to separate them from the police. And it unmitigated. This fire went on for 45 minutes.
Wait, real quick. The Lime scooters, they set on fire?
Yeah, they set the dumpster on fire, and the Lime scooters were like in the pile of crap.
Those things have massive lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah, and there's video. I posted some videos students took on my Twitter. They were exploding like every 5 minutes. So you just hear a huge bang.
Wow.
Yeah.
But again, like why aren't the police coming in and just shutting this stuff down?
It's a great question. They should have done it as soon as they occupied the building, but they didn't. And so they gave a dispersal order, 1021, everybody better be out of here. You're subject to arrest. That now there's a huge fire in between them and the protesters. So that 1021 turned into like a 1045. And so they ended up coming up. They formed a police line around the building. They told everybody you're fine to peacefully protest outside the building, even though they're like, getting in the police's faces. Prior to the police coming up, actually, though, somebody yelled out, "Does anybody have projectiles?" And then they started gathering stones up. So there were all these piles of rocks in the roads. There was bigger rocks, like maybe this size, that were thrown into the road to like obscure vehicles. And then there were smaller rocks, like this, piles of them everywhere that were meant to be thrown at the police.
Did these people have a coherent demand?
Divest. Yeah, it was.
Fair.
I think with the buses, it was. This would just be easy if they would just divest. And the easiest way to get the buses through would just be to divest. And it's like, oh my god, it's so silly.
Was it like two different groups though? Because Antifa tends to be this amorphic group of general leftist causes, but then we're hearing that. And I want to draw the distinction. There's two different, actually, there's like 3 or 4 different protests. But here at UW, there was the Riley Gaines. That was the transgender one. This one we're talking about right now was the Israel, Boeing, divest, whatever. But did it seem like there were two distinct groups of ideology among the protesters? Ideologies?
I wouldn't say distinct, but there was definitely like infighting. Like we had the bus infighting, and that's like you see that there's kind of two factions or several factions of people there. And these leftist protests I've observed kind of just become a conglomerate. Like you have the trans stuff, and forever you'll see trans stuff at leftist protests. Now there's the Gaza stuff. Forever now you'll see Palestinian flags at leftist protests. And there was another incident where they were kind of infighting yesterday, the same day that the spray was deployed, where this dude who I think he's actually tabled with me at UW, where he got on the mic and he said, we need to show the right wing that we're not violent. We can't give them what they want. They want us to be violent, whatever. And the Antifa crowd on the that was flanking the protest started yelling, they started the violence. We need to be violent. It's not business as usual, blah, 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 whatever, the usual.
Well, they're basically lumping the right. This is the funniest thing about what the left does. Now, I call them the left because, as we're pointing out here, it is a group of protesters, and their causes change, right? When they had the anti-Israel protests at Columbia in New York, they had the People's Tent. They had a bunch of socialist causes aligned with anti-Israel. And these are two distinct causes, but they lump them all together. They protest together, they riot together, and they actually say, respect the diversity of tactics. Whereas on the right, the left will claim that neo-Nazis and libertarians are the same faction. Or
Exactly.
my favorite meme recently was it was a meme about Donald Trump funding Israel. And I don't know if you saw this. Hitler, like the ghost of Hitler, was patting Trump on the back, praising him for Trump sending weapons to Israel. And the responses were like, I think Kyle Kalinske posted, people were like, do you know anything about what that guy was trying to do? Because I'm not sure he would praise someone giving billions of dollars to a sovereign Jewish state. But
Exactly.
that's why when they lump the right in as one group, it makes no sense. But when we say the left, there is a general large amorphous blob where you have Antifa adopting whatever cause it might be and then aligning themselves with whatever is in the news at this moment. So anyway, I mean, I'm ranting right now, but, you know, moving on to, or actually, I'm curious if there's anything you wanted to add before we move on to the next protest, like anything you saw that people should know about.
I mean, yeah, we went over the fires. It's just the stuff that they're chanting outside of the violence and the like having to deploy the spray. The stuff they're chanting. I don't. What can I repeat what they said, or is that going to be like a TOS thing?
Yeah, I don't know actually, because I pulled some of it up and I'm like, I don't want to read this. They were calling for death and murder.
Yeah,
and threatening elderly
in
people.
very graphic ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's like you see what they're. It's like it's funny. I saw a post that Andy reposted either something that Katie or I filmed, and it was like the most vile thing you could say to a person, and then it's like you just see the preview and the camera pans over and it's like this little old lady like hunching over with a cane, and it's like, oh my god, it's like I saw it in person and I'm still shocked by it.
And that's
it's
Andy.
just terrible.
That's Andy. No, you're saying who reposted that?
Yeah,
I noticed you have that dumpster behind you.
Yeah, this is my souvenir. I took the other night.
It's an Antifa garbage shield.
Yep.
So, how did you get that?
Well, I mean, they were just laying out in the street, and you know, it seemed there was a group that was kind of standing around them, and I was getting ready to leave, and so I just grabbed it. We took two of them.
It's crazy to me that the police allow these people to show up with these tools and these weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get you can grab a rock off the street, but this shows premeditation. It shows conspiracy to commit a crime. It seems to me that in the Pacific Northwest, they want and encourage it. And then one of the stories from Post Millennial was that one of the people arrested at this protest was a public defender.
Mm-hmm. I think Ari Hoffman also reported that one of them was a nurse too at a like local hospital or clinic or something. It's just, I don't know. And there's older people there. Like these people are not all students. And what's really jarring to your point about the police is there were several points the other night where this police line was formed around the interdisciplinary engineering building, and the police were like actively saying, you're committing a crime right now. If you keep doing it, we're going to arrest you. And it's like, they keep doing it. And it's like, if you keep doing it, we're going to arrest you. And they just keep doing it. And there's no arrests made. And it's really not the police's fault. Like, it's not their fault. It's the fault of the broken city with a broken system full of prosecutors who will not prosecute people who are committing violence in the name of things they believe in.
Well, I got to be honest. I mean, I don't have sympathy for these people. You know, they vote for it. Do you live up there?
Yeah.
Oh man, why?
Yeah, just like my girlfriend has a job up here, and I mean it is kind of convenient that I can go report on this stuff, but it's like, you know, you go out and it's like the situation that happened where they're like chasing us down and I have to deploy pepper spray. It's like that's scary, first of all, because it's like I don't know if they have a knife, I don't know if they have a gun, I don't know what they have. They could do some serious harm to me or to Katie, who is like 4 times smaller than this giant Antifa gorilla who's chasing us. And then it's like, if I defend myself, am I going to go to jail?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep. So then what was it? The next day is when the Riley Gaines thing happened?
Yeah. The next day was the Riley Gaines thing. I'm actually surprised that it wasn't worse yesterday, because it kind of felt like the taking over the building was a warm up for the Antifa people, and they were definitely there and they were definitely stirring some stuff up, but it kind of just dispersed after the pepper spray thing.
I guess it's probably because Riley Gaines was speaking during the day.
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
So yeah, they come out at night. That's when they're emboldened. But so what went down there? I mean, did anything significant happen? I know that they were reportedly throwing feces.
Yeah, there was one person that was like waving a trans flag everywhere, and it's funny too because the person came up, and I have no idea what gender this person was, what sex or anything, but came up through a bag of some kind of feces at the people who were guarding the door for the Turning Point event. And this is, by the way, the police have a line in front of these people, so they threw the bag of poop past the people. I saw this, but I didn't know what it was until I saw Katie's reporting. And so that happens. And then this person is still coming up and like waving the trans flag, and she, whatever, is like waving it in front of the police, like right in their faces. And one of the cops snatched the flag and was like, you're using this as a weapon. You're not allowed to have this. And then they gave it back. Like immediately. It was like, they're like, that is confiscation of personal property. You just stole that, whatever. And immediately the police just give it back. And I'm like,
Part of me wants to think that what's actually going on is like the RoboCop narrative, where they're allowing Antifa to do this because it lowers property values, so that they can start snatching up properties for the public for their commie plans or whatever.
could be.
But I don't know. I guess the argument is they don't want to make arrests of Antifa because it'll generate viral videos, which will exacerbate the riots and the protests. But I don't believe that, because they're as bad as they've been and they're getting worse.
Yeah, and the sad part is like we need federal law that bans protesting with masks, because these people also stole my camera and they left with it, and now I lost my footage for the entire day and $400 worth of equipment. It was just a GoPro, so it wasn't like $1,000 camera or anything. But it's just I don't have the footage. I don't have the camera. I don't have the mount for the camera that mounts it to my chest. And I got bear sprayed in LA, and the person was wearing a mask, and I have no way of identifying who this person was to sue them or to bring any kind of legal repercussions against them, because I have the body camera footage. They're doing it clear as day, but their face is fully covered and there's no way to identify them.
They tried this in DC during Trump's first inauguration in 2017. You had probably 1,000 people in Black Bloc. They're all wearing masks and hoodies and sunglasses. So they go there with the intent to obfuscate the crimes of their comrades. And then what happens is the police couldn't identify any single individual, so they arrested everyone. They put 230 or so people, charged them, put them through trial, and charged them with conspiracy, because they knew they couldn't get any one individual because they're wearing masks. The court not only dismissed it, but the Antifa people sued the government, the federal government, city of DC, and won $1 million.
It's insane.
How do you function when these people are able to do these things every day? So I would say, to your mask point, people should be allowed to wear masks. People should be allowed to wear masks at a protest. But if you commit a crime, it should aggravate that crime. So if a protest becomes a riot and you're wearing a mask and now you're breaking the law, it should be a way more serious penalty. I think the challenge is, like, sometimes you wear a winter face mask. You can't make that illegal, Sure. The reason why Antifa ends up winning is because the courts were like, look, you can't charge someone with conspiracy because they happen to be wearing a black hoodie. You'll end up arresting some random person.
That's a good point.
But who knows? I mean, I will ask you this, though. Trump is now saying that they're going to put UW under review following the occupation of this building. But the Trump admin in the first term didn't go after these universities when Antifa was firebombing buildings and protesting for Black Lives Matter. It seems now that the only reason the Trump admin is going after these universities is because they're engaged in anti-Semitic behavior targeting Jewish students, or there are students being deported because they're critical of Israel. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall exactly what happened back in 2020, so long ago, but I don't think it is necessarily because of that. I think Trump is just cracking down on everything now and doesn't have any fears because he doesn't have to run for re-election again. But like today, or not today, yesterday wasn't about anything related to Israel or anything like that. It was Riley Gaines thing, and they're doing the same stuff. So I don't think that that's really the case, because they're protesting lots of stuff. But UW is a ripe place to crack down on. I mean, I table at UW virtually every week, and they come up to me and they steal my hat, my MAGA hat, off my head. They rip my signs off my table. They try to steal my camera. They turn my camera off while I'm recording. It's just like it is a campus full of absolute degenerate miscreants that don't understand the rule of law, because there is no rule of law in Seattle, Washington. Your laws are only as good as the mechanism that enforces them. And if you don't enforce the laws, they don't exist.
I think I'd say they do understand the rule of law very well.
Why is that?
Because the state, they know the state's not going to enforce it, so they
Sure.
can get away with these things.
Sure.
You know, if the police were going to arrest them and they were doing it, I'd say they must not understand or they don't care. But I think one of the biggest issues we've seen with Portland and Seattle, you had the Chaz Chop, whatever they called it. They didn't want to call it the Chaz because autonomous was like a legal thing or something like that. But people were killed. And then they tried it in Portland. They did it in Atlanta. They did it in Minnesota. But larger than the Pacific Northwest, you had this going on where they seized a police building. So my only conclusion is the police are in on it. And maybe you're right when you said it's not really the police's fault individually. Like these beat cops know that even if they try to make an arrest, they're going to get yelled at by their boss. The person's going to get let go. The city's going to pay a settlement, and they're going to get in trouble. I suppose I would say the police bear some responsibility for this, because if these cops really felt that their hands were tied and it was unjust, they should just resign and protest. I can't do my job. I'm not going to. Because what would happen to these cities if the police just said nope, and then the protesters got to do whatever they wanted? The people who live in these cities might actually then vote to change things, unless, of course, it's what they want. So I don't know, man. I'm curious then. What are your thoughts on the sentiment of the people who live in Seattle, in and around UW?
I think it's pretty divided, because I think you get a lot of people who are honking their horns as they drive through. But as I was walking down the street in Black Block, I had a lot of really angry people yelling at me. Like, hey man, where's the violence happening today? What are you gonna do? Beat up an old lady today? Are you gonna take over another building? I'm like,
when you were in
they
disguise.
can't tell, but I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I felt bad because there was a cameraman for this news station, and I won't say who or what station, but you know, he's not for these people or whatever, but he's not doing anything wrong. He's like this little innocent Hispanic guy, and he's so sweet. And they're like walking by, just finishing harassing these old people, and he's in the parking lot, and they walk by, and why don't you end your life too? And it's just like you just see the sadness like wash over these people's faces. And so I went over afterwards and I like pulled my mask down. He was like, "Hey, how are you?" But it's like you just feel bad for these people that are just getting harassed for literally no reason. And there are no repercussions for threatening violence against people, or for following people to their cars and shouting out their license plate numbers, or standing in front of people and false imprisoning them.
Yeah.
So
what a crazy place, man. I've got a question for you that no one outside of Seattle who's never been there will understand, and it's going to be great. So do you guys, when you hang out at UW, do you still go eat a bag of dicks?
I don't get this joke. I didn't.
Really?
Is this like a local, like you'd get it if you went to UW or a
Yeah,
bag
there's
of
Dick's Burgers, man. So
Oh.
everybody goes and walks up to get a bag of dicks, and so when you
okay.
when you hang out there, people be like, "Hey, go eat it. You want to go eat a bag of dicks?" And you're like, "Excuse me," and they're like, "Let's go." And then you walk up to the drive-in or whatever. It's called the drive-in, but you walk up and you get a bunch of cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I
Well, go
always
eat a bag of
hang
dicks
out
when you
like
get a chance.
I hang out right in like Red Square or in the Quad, and I sit there. I park my car under Red Square. I sit in the Quad. I do my tabling, and then I get the hell out of there as fast as I can. I do
Well,
not
it's-
waste any time around the surrounding area.
Yeah, they're it's like a chain. They've got them all over Seattle, I guess. Well, not all over. There's a handful of them, but I haven't been. I haven't been to Seattle in like 15 years, and I remember when I was down there. Do you guys still do you still have the Av rats?
Like, are you talking about like homeless people all over the Ave?
There. When I was there was a group of young people, scuzz punk, lefty types. They called the Avenue Rats. They called them the Av Rats, and they lived on the University Avenue by all the markets and all the food and restaurants.
I think I might have interviewed one the other day. Yeah, I don't go on the Ave very often, but I mean the Ave is crazy. Like I was interviewing this dude who might have been one of these Avarats the other day, and we're interviewing him, and this homeless dude comes up and he starts just like, there's this smaller girl who's like listening to our conversation, standing kind of off to the side. And this dude, the homeless dude, comes up right behind her and he starts throwing these e-scooters and e-bikes. He's like yelling because he can't park his bike or the like in the bike zone. I don't know, but then like somehow he got in front of us, and now you can just hear like disembodied screaming coming all up and down the Ave. It's crazy.
It's kind of crazy, man. How old are you?
25.
Yeah, man. Jeez, I'm 39. And it really does feel like all of our cities are getting worse. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had stories of crazy homeless people, but the stuff we see popping up now, I don't think is just a phenomenon of social media making it more apparent. I heard stories out of like New York, Chicago, Seattle, LA. I mean, the videos that come out of LA with the homelessness of people like taking dumps in the street. I also got to be honest, never been to, I covered protests for about 8 or 9 years on the ground across the U.S. and in other countries. Never saw someone throw feces at somebody. You know, seems like things have escalated for some
They
reason.
absolutely have. The tactics are changing. And I didn't even realize that's what she threw until I saw like John Cho texted me and he's like, somebody threw poop outside. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you I didn't believe him. I was like, no way.
Man, at least it was in a bag, I guess.
I guess. Disgusting.
Sooner or later it won't be, and they'll just, oof. Anyway, man, thanks for joining us. Is there anything else you wanted to add about what you're seeing or what you may be covering in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be covering these protests as they come, so follow on X, and I can only cover them as they come. I'm not planning the protests, so
Yeah,
when there is a protest, I'll be there.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on X at Cam Higby or on YouTube at Cam Higby.
Right on, man. Well, stay safe out there. Don't get feces thrown at you, and good luck, brother.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for hanging out.
See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Cam. And he's obviously on the ground here. And actually, let me pull this video back up, because I'm pretty sure in the video you can see him. Let me play the video again.
Scared?
I think that's Cam back there.
Why are you scared?
Uh-oh.
I think that's him filming.
I'm just walking.
Stop!
Because you can see, I think he's right here. I should have just asked him.
Don't touch me!
And then I think he sprays her in the face with mace. I think he maced her. Yeah, I think he just got her.
Run! Run, run, run! Mace!
Yup. Yo, man, it is wild out there. I'll just say a few more things. And if you guys got any Rumble rants you want to throw in, we can maybe grab a couple. But I got started doing all this, covering these protests, these conflicts on the ground. And the stuff that I've been seeing, it has gotten absolutely crazy. Look, the worst thing that happened to me when I was covering this stuff, from Occupy to other protests, they would swing at my camera. I had one instance in New York where someone swatted my hand with my phone in it. But that was about it. It was a big deal, too. There was actually a big story. I wonder if you can find this. I wonder if you can find the old story. Yeah, there you go. NBC News. Look at this. Yo, look at 25-year-old me. Cameras no longer welcome at Occupy Wall Street. Attack highlights conflict. Yup, I even had live stream written on my phone, and then some dude physically attacked me. But to the point where they're throwing feces and they bloodied up Andy No, it's getting crazy. What I will say for Cam, for those other guys that are on the ground, for me, it got to a point where I was getting attacked. I was getting trolled. There's a video to Boston where this right-wing dude pulls my head off, and I naturally just got super pissed. At that protest, some Antifa guy who was 240 pounds, got in my face and was swinging at me, threatening to hit me. And so here I am. I got this guy in my face. And then I walk down, and then this dude comes up behind me and then yanks my head off. And I'm just on edge already, super pissed off, surrounded by the far left. And now I'm like, now these guys are coming up to me. I just was like, it's getting too much. People know who I am. And so I was in, I think I was in Portland. And I actually had some 30-year-old guy, it's like the craziest thing in the world, chasing me, literally jumping in front of the camera, just making weird noises. And he wasn't associated with any of the protests. The cops couldn't do anything about it. And it's at this point, it's like, you can't actually do the job anymore. So here I am, you know, and that's where I end up. So shout out to all the guys that are still on the ground doing this reporting. One question I should have asked is like, how come nobody's live streaming anymore? You used to have people, they would go live, but I suppose too many people are using those live streams to find you and then disrupt what you're doing. And if you're going to be like Cam or Katie and you're undercover, you're dressed in black bloc to try and avoid being attacked, a live stream will just get you exposed. That's how much things have kind of escalated. But I think we do have a couple Rumble rants here, or at least one that came in. And we got men walk away saying Antifa and BLM are the brown shirts of fascist Democrats. Indeed, man. Indeed. What do we got? We can grab maybe a couple chats here before we raid our good friend Russell Brand. And let's see. Broljek says, well, you always dress like a homeless male prostitute. Hard to not pick you out of the crowd. Are you talking about me? Maybe. Anyway, my friends, we're going to let's get that raid for our friend Russell Brand here. What does he got going on? He says, while you're watching, this could spark World War III. It's crazy news what's going on with India and Pakistan, my friends. So smash that like button, not because of India and Pakistan, but just because. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Of course, we've got segments coming up throughout the day. We are back at 8 p.m. for Timcast IRL. We were number 4 yesterday. It's a hard game out there, but I really we don't do the show for those reasons, but it is an honor and a privilege to all of you watching that you guys come and join us all 8 p.m. for Timcast IRL. Got 43,000 people watching. We'll be live at 8 p.m. here on Rumble. You don't want to miss it. And yesterday we had 77,000 concurrent viewers. It's an honor and a privilege. I am humbled. And I want to give a shout out to Dan Bongino, Steven Crowder, to Russell Brand, to Jeremy Hambley, Vince, and Avita, all of the Rumble morning lineup. You guys make all this possible, and I really do appreciate it. With this, we have dominated the top streams in the nation every single day. There's obviously a bunch of Twitch streamers who do really, really well, but I really do mean it. You guys, come hang out at 8 p.m., watch the show, get your Rumble rants in, because we'll read them. We read them off, many of them, and let's just take this space. So if everybody who watched this show right now shared the show and came and watched Timcast IRL, we would have the #1 show in the country. And I'll give one shout out. Steven Crowder, on average, #1. However, when these, we're the IRL streamers, I got no beef, but like iShow Speed, Kai Cenat, these guys dominate. And mad respect for creating entertaining content. I do. I really respect that. We're talking about news, changing the world, war. We can do it too. So guys, share the show with everyone you know. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and we will see you all tonight.